Welcome news on coronavirus vaccines. Pfizer announced on Wednesday that its shot is effective in adolescents. The pharmaceutical company says clinical trials showed 100% efficacy in younger people between 12 and 15. Results also found that age group tolerated the doses well. Researchers say there were no COVID-19 cases among the more than 1,000 participants given the vaccine, but the data has yet to be peer-reviewed, and Pfizer is planning to submit the results to the Food and Drug Administration as soon as possible to expand the emergency use authorization. Dr. Gary Richwald joins me from Los Angeles. He's a communicable and infectious disease specialist. So, Dr. Richwald, how significant is this? The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine safe and effective in young people between ages of 12 and 15, efficacy at 100%.
What do I think? I think the biggest problem with this data is that it's relatively small sample size. I think we're all looking for favorable information. So I'm very excited that this is available, that we're going to end up eventually with approval for adolescents to receive the vaccine. However, I think that some of this is what we call positive news rather than the important news. The important news has to do with whether we're going to be able to get enough vaccine into enough people to prevent a fourth major wave, as Dr. Walensky from the CDC is concerned about. And so although I think it's exciting, and this data is not surprising because young adults have much better immune response to vaccination in general than older adults. But I think the big question is, are we going to, I don't believe that this adolescent vaccine is going to, or use of this vaccine in adolescents is going to make much of a difference in terms of what we're dealing with in COVID-19 currently.
And you're concerned because of the various variants, if you will, that are still out there?
Well, I'm not just concerned about the variants. What I'm actually more concerned about is we have almost 30 states that are, by April 15th, so in a little more than 2 weeks, are going to open up enrollment and distribution of vaccine without restriction. We currently have 50 million Americans in high-risk groups who have not been vaccinated. Some of them, it's, the system has just not worked for them. All this, computerization and getting on lists and doing it in 15, 20 minutes, and then there's no vaccine available. Some of them may lack a certain level of interest or education about the vaccine, but that's an enormous problem. And if we start pitting young adults in the 18 to 50-year-old range to compete with the high-risk groups that have not been vaccinated yet, we're going to have a catastrophe, and the fourth wave is going to be on us, and it's going to impact hospitalization, as it already is, hospitalization in 25 states. It's going to be a real problem.
Well, let me ask you this. Why, COVID-19 vaccine trials in children and adolescents require fewer volunteers. In this case, over 1,000 kids were tested. Why are there fewer people being tested in these clinical trials when it involves children?
Well, that's a very good point. I think that we already know, the argument will be that we already know a lot about these vaccines, so we're just extending the age range. And this has been done with other vaccines as well, that subsequent trials are considerably smaller. So that's the way we've done it. And it appears to be a relatively safe way to do vaccines, looking at other vaccine trials prior to COVID-19. So I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
What I'm worried about is the news cycle. The focus shouldn't be on this new vaccine. The focus should be on the present vaccine effort. And, we're here in Los Angeles, we are very short of vaccine. This is, one of the couple, 3 or 4 major cities in the country, and we constantly short of vaccine. And that's the reason the high-risk groups that I mentioned
Right.
have not adequately vaccinated.
All right. Dr. Gary Richwald, thank you. We'll have to leave it there.